All right. Well, I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for showing up. And for anyone that's going to be watching the replay, thank you for taking the time to enjoy this masterclass with me today, all about eggs. I have recently acquired a lot of new people into my community. So I wanted to start off by introducing myself and telling you a little bit about my story. So, my name is Sarah Joy Lohman, and I was born and raised here in California. I have two biological kids who are 16 and 9, and I have two steplings who are 10 and 11, and one fur baby named Bandit. He's a Maltese poodle Shih Tzu, and he is seriously obsessed with me. He literally is by my side all the time. It's so cute. I love it. So it's like having a fifth child, basically. On my 30th birthday, and over the span of 8 years, I was slowly collecting diagnoses from hypothyroidism to Hashimoto's, nutrient deficiencies from the inability to absorb my food, anxiety disorder, and depression. At my worst, I suffered from upwards of 25 plus symptoms. My main ones were fatigue, anxiety, panic attacks, brain fog, memory loss, stuttering when I spoke, many food intolerances, bloating, constipation, hair loss, heart palpitations and heart pain, and intolerances to the weather, both when it was hot and cold. I listened to and obeyed all of my doctors, whether they were Western medicine, a functional or alternative doctor that I paid cash out of pocket for. And no one really knew what to tell me other than my body was attacking itself and that I was just depressed or stressed. And my family genes must be defective. In 2015, I was tired of trying to figure out all of the things that were going wrong with me. And honestly, I lost all of my hope and I just gave up. I decided to basically just let the illness kill me. I figured it would take me out in some sort of a thyroid cancer, like real thoughts, you guys. It was really sad. A year later, my brother was released from a 10-year stint in prison for possession of meth in a fight he got into in his 20s. I was so happy to have him back, but I couldn't see him much because I was so sick. I never really left the house. He also had hypothyroidism, so he understood. A short year later, his life went sideways for many reasons, and he ended up getting shot 14 times and killed by the San Diego Police Department. This out of the blue trauma gave me a whole new reason for living. I saw how precious life was, and this renewed my fight to figure out and fix my life and my health. I started making tons of changes in my life. Number one, I divorced my husband, who was abusive, and I vowed to live life for me from then on. It was my dream to go to college. So after I moved out, I enrolled and completed 2 colleges with honors at the same time. I currently have a health and fitness degree, and I'm a certified transformational nutrition coach. After growing sick of wasting time and money, thousands of dollars on doctors that did nothing for me, and determined to fix myself, I turned myself into a guinea pig and started pulling tons of labs on all kinds, from my hair to my urine, my saliva, my poo, and some blood samples as well. All of the results I did started uncovering reasons why I had every single one of my symptoms. And after a couple of years of pulling these tests, I figured out all of my root causes. Over the past few years, with my root causes revealed to me, I made a plan to heal each one. And I have slowly reversed my illnesses and even gone off all of my medications. I now teach these reasons and the same steps that got me better in my 90-day program called Energy for Life. And now, as Coach Sarah Joy, it is my mission to save the women of this world from thyroid illness too. Now that you know me a little bit better, let's dive into the good stuff, shall we? So in order to understand why you need to stop eating eggs, you first need to understand what's really causing your thyroid symptoms and illnesses. This is hard for some people to wrap their head around, but regardless of what all of the mainstream media says, science says, and doctors say, I found out from my own test results that there are 6 key reasons why you are sick, get sicker, and the meds don't fix you. The 6 key reasons are because of pathogen infections, nutrient deficiencies and mineral imbalances, toxic heavy metal overload, low and barely any stomach acids, a sluggish and stagnant liver, and eating trigger foods that exacerbate the pathogen infections inside of you. Today, I'd like to focus on number 1, pathogen infections, and number 6, trigger foods and their correlation to your thyroid health. Now, you may be wondering, what's a pathogen infection? This term, pathogen, refers to bugs that we are harboring inside of our body. They range from bacteria to viruses, parasites, and fungal infections. Most of you have heard of SIBO, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, right? I like to call that shit stew because there's just so much shit in your gut. It's like a stew of all of these bugs. So how did I, thanks. How did I figure this out, you may be wondering. One of the last tests that I pulled on myself, the mother load test, I like to call it. It's called a GI map stool analysis. The results showed me that I was riddled with all kinds of these pathogens. And here, really fast, I would like to show you some of the results from this test. So it has lots of notes on it from many years of studying my body. So this is what it looks like. It's from the lab Diagnostic Solutions. This was pulled in 2019, DA stool analysis. And in the first column is the pathogens. And these are the values that show you the ones you're high in. So as you can see, anything that's marked was what was in my stool, what that came out of my body. So this page is the pathogen E. coli. Had serious E. coli overgrowth. This one is parasites. I had the Blastomus hominis parasite in insanely high values. The next one, there's like 6 pages to this. I'm going to show you a couple. This one is called the opportunistic bacteria. This one was really bad. Look at all those bacteria I had. The first one is Bacillus sep. And then the famous one that you guys all know, strep throat, streptococcus. And then down here on the bottom is the fungus and the yeast overgrowth. Had a lot of that too. And sorry, let me get back to my screen. I was so grossed out that I had all of these bugs inside of me, but because I'm weird like this, I was so happy at the same time to learn this crucial information. After learning this and on my mission to put my healing protocols in place, I learned that eggs feed pathogens. This stopped me in my tracks because I knew I was battling so many pathogens. So I needed to understand why, and I'd like to teach you too. But first, because I'm a visual learner, I want to show you a video before I go on. So one second, I gotta just hit my share screen. Uh-oh. This is called How We Grow Flu Inside an Egg.
Wait.
Okay, hang on. Crazy, huh? Okay, what am I doing? Go back to my notes. Okay. In the early 1900s, eggs were used in scientific research laboratories as a food source to keep aggressive bugs alive and to feed microorganisms. As the scientists toyed with unproductive bacteria and viruses such as Streptococcus, Staph, the Epstein-Barr virus, HHV6, herpes simplex 1 and 2, shingles, HPV, and others they manipulated. As you can see from the video, they use eggs as the pathogen's food source. Between 1900 and 1930s, these pathogens such as strep, staph, EBV, HPV, and shingles and others were categorized and patented. This was not told to the public. Years later, virologists started stumbling upon the viral strains in people's bodies, such as the Epstein-Barr virus and the HHV6. Pathogens such as these viruses cause a staggering majority of today's ailments. Now, how does this connect you to eating eggs? Well, many of us have been told over the years how healthy eggs are for our bodies, but sadly, not all food is medicine, even if it has something good in it. Meaning, just because a food contains nutrients doesn't mean that that there's not another component of that food that we're not being told about that's bad for us and cancels out any benefits of the nutrients. For example, we think eggs are a great protein source, right? The industries have married this word, protein, to eggs on purpose as a marketing strategy. The truth is, the proteins in eggs feed viruses, unproductive bacteria, and fungus because the egg protein was used in the lab long ago as a food that viruses and other pathogens were trained to consume. So when we eat eggs, the pathogens inside of us eat them too. Again, we're all made to think the protein in eggs is good for us, but we have to realize that when we cook our eggs, that process denatures and destroys the protein, so our bodies can't utilize it anyways. We also often hear that omega-3s inside of eggs are good for us. That also gets destroyed once you cook the egg. I'd like you to consider the hormones in eggs. Not talking about the added hormones, we're talking about the naturally occurring hormones. Think about it. An egg is a ball of hormones to grow a baby chicken. And those hormones feed viruses and bacteria. Bacteria such as streptococcus causes acne, bladder infections and other UTIs, chronic sinusitis, lung infections, styes, and even ear infections. The egg's naturally occurring hormones disrupt our endocrine glands, which is what the thyroid gland is a part of, the endocrine system. And the hormones in eggs cause our hormones to become imbalanced, which can affect your ability to conceive and even hold on to a pregnancy. What we're also told that eggs are a good food source to balance your blood sugar. Everyone thinks they keep us stable. Actually, eggs are not the perfect food for blood sugar disorders or diabetes because eggs cause insulin resistance and put us in a constant vicious cycle because inside of an egg are both sugar and fat together. When you combine sugar and fats, that's how you get insulin resistance, which can lead to diabetes in the first place. When you eat eggs, the reaction, whether you know it or not, is inflammation. Inflammation plays a huge role in all diseases, especially arthritis, autoimmune, heart disease, and other chronic conditions. They also can increase your chance of fatal cancers like breast and prostate cancer. Be careful on biased research that says otherwise. I often wondered why some people can eat eggs and be perfectly fine and other people eat eggs and react. So strange. Well, I understand. I learned that simply some people have a lower pathogenic load inside of them, which means they have fewer viruses and bacteria in their bodies, so they can get away with eating this food. But if you have a thyroid condition, you are definitely dealing with a pathogen infection, whether you know it or not. Women, especially nowadays, are dealing with a lot of disorders like eczema, psoriasis, and fatigue, but are being told eggs are a superfood and a great protein source. This couldn't be further from the truth. I know this information can be hard to learn because eggs are such an emotionally driven and dearly loved food. Trust me, I know. It took me a long time to accept this fact myself, even after my own primary care doctor for 2 years in a row was telling me my own cholesterol was super high. And he specifically asked me, "Are you eating eggs?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, you might want to cut them out." And I was like, "No, I love my eggs and I'm going to eat my eggs." Again, on the second time, he was like, "It's still high. Did you cut out eggs?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Well, I'm really concerned of how high your cholesterol is." And that's just from a cholesterol standpoint. I loved eating my eggs scrambled on a piece of toast. But honestly, now that I know all this information, I've let them go now because number one, there's lots of other foods I can enjoy eating. And number two, I want to feel better. So it's worth it, right? Now let's talk about what you can eat instead of eggs. This is always the question of like, well, what do I eat? I'm going to send out a list of these foods with links on the replay email. So don't worry about memorizing or writing anything down right now. Just go ahead and listen. For breakfast, these are all things that I use every day. Smoothies, delicious smoothies. Fruit-based smoothies are so good for you and a great replacement. Not only are they really high in nutrients that we're all deficient in, they also are really hydrating when you use a water or a coconut water as your base. Gluten-free oatmeal is another option. A fruit bowl, a piece of gluten-free toast with cinnamon and cut up bananas on top. Or I like to do a piece of toast with applesauce on top. There's really great gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free pancake recipes. I just had my one of my sons actually make me a banana-based pancake mix the other morning when I was really busy working. He's so cute. He's like, "I'll make you pancakes." And it was so filling and delicious. But if you're one of those people that really likes a meat with your breakfast, Costco has a really great turkey bacon that you could sub in as your meat source instead of eggs. For baking, some really great egg substitutes that I've use often when I bake is flax eggs, chia eggs, and the company Bob's Bread Meal has a really great powdered egg replacer that I've used many times too. And it's a lot quicker and easier than making a flax egg, which honestly only takes a few minutes. I did do a post on these substitutions a couple of days ago, so I will link that in the email as well. And there is a really yummy gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free bread that I use, especially when I'm going to be gone from the house all day long at like a baseball tournament or something. And I will link that bread in the email as well. And if you're looking for like chips or tortillas, have you tried chickpea juice? I can't remember what it's called. Chickpea juice. I actually have it. That sounds interesting. Have you got that at a local health food store?
It's the stuff that's in the cans. Like when you open up the can, and it's the liquid, you can whip it and it acts like egg white. So like you can make like meringue or anything that you put into like baking stuff actually has the same texture.
Oh my gosh, I actually haven't ever seen that tip. I will
remember what it's called.
I'll have
the brain fog kicking in.
Oh my gosh, no worries. Let me write that down and I'll find a recipe on that and I'll link that out in the replay email as well. Interesting, thank you. I know a big one for most people when I talk about omitting eggs is mayonnaise, because everyone loves their mayonnaise. And I do too on occasion when I'm gonna like make a sandwich when I need to be gone or something. And the online company Thrive, they have a great vegan mayonnaise that's egg-free. I've tried a lot of the ones at the store like Veganese and some of the other vegan ones. And the flavors for me personally just weren't the best. But this one, if you watch my stories, I actually showed it last week. I'll put a link to it as well. It's in like a baggie. Oh, okay, cool. That is a really great, thanks. That is a really great mayonnaise sub that is egg-free. If you need to make like a potato salad or a gluten-free macaroni salad, or just something that's a mayonnaise base. And if like one of your kids even has reactions or allergies to eggs, that's a really great thing for their like lunch sandwich. Lunch is at school, for their sandwiches at school. Now, when in doubt, there's a rule that I live by. Like when in doubt of, I don't know what to eat, what should I eat? Always turn to fresh fruit, veggies, fruit juices, and leafy greens. You will never go wrong choosing any of these foods to eat. And every single time you choose to eat one of these types of foods, you're actually helping yourself heal. So I hope you found this information really helpful, and if you would love to learn more and dive into deeper things like this with me, you're always welcome to book a call in my 90-day program, Energy for Life. Energy for Life is a complete transformational 12-week online program that helps you restore your energy levels so you can be a badass mom, wife, and sexy woman that you dream of. Reclaim your weight, memory, and nutrition so you'll be able to look, think, and function normally again. And most importantly, rewrite your happiness story so you can restore your self-esteem, self-trust, and peace of mind. I'd like to share this most recent client testimonial with you. It was so sweet. I just got it last week. My client, Kim, wrote, Coach Share Joy truly cares about her clients. She wants them to feel good and heal from within. And she provides the knowledge, supplements, and nutrition suggestions to help this happen. She's always taking her knowledge and passing it on. She truly wants you to feel better and have optimal thyroid function and overall health. She also addresses the possible underlying issues that could be hindering your thyroid. I think one of the best things about Sarah, other than that she's a wonderful person with a kind, compassionate, caring heart, is she leads by example. I love seeing her nutrition suggestions and what she's eating and doing for her own health. Love, Kim. Over the life-changing 12-week program, you will learn many new concepts in my 3 pillars of health. Month 1 is called Reveal and Clear, and it's all about getting back in touch with your body and listening to what it is that it's trying to tell you. We do this together by using my simple food and tracking system. Sorry. After we pinpoint your trigger foods and others, we will co-create a new nutrition and shopping plan to help you shop with ease. We also focus on cleaning up and clearing out any environmental toxins in your home, car, and office that could be secretly playing a role in your inflammation, anxiety, and panic attacks, as well as other unwanted thyroid symptoms. Month 2 is called Replenish and Upgrade, and this is focused on your root cause testing so we can uncover and address your individualized nutrient deficiencies and toxic heavy metal overloads. After getting your results back, I create you a personalized supplement regimen and schedule that has been scientifically proven and tested, especially on myself, to benefit those with thyroid illness. And like I said, month 3 is all about rewriting your happiness story. And this month is all about getting you back in touch with your intuition and spiritual side. Together, we will rewrite your happiness story by addressing your stress, self-care, sleep problems, anxiety, panic attacks, past trauma, negative self-talk, and your mindset. What you can expect from me during our 90 days together is I will educate you, be reliable, accountable, hold you accountable, motivate you, and support you. All of my coaching services are virtual, and I am also a patient advocate, and patient advocate services are available, which means I work with your doctor and I help advocate for you. My program is 100% compatible with your functional medicine doctor's protocols. And during the duration of the program, you'll receive direct messaging support from me Monday through Friday during business hours via Voxer or Instagram for help with your questions, guidance, motivation, and support. I do currently have 3 spots open for one-on-one coaching with me this month. If this sounds like something you're interested in, feel free to contact me after this with any questions, or we can set up a 60-minute discovery call so we can talk a little more about you, your story, and what you're looking to change, and to see if my coaching would be a good fit for you. And now I will turn the time over to you, Stephanie, to hear any comments, questions, or feedback.
That was great, Sarah Joy. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
So the only thing I was thinking about when you're talking about like the eggs and the hormones and the proteins and things, does it trigger like does it make the autoimmune response worse, or is it just like exacerbate a leaky gut? Like,
yes.
Or is it just the hormones we're talking about?
Yeah. So because they trigger inflammation, that the inflammation is that response. And so that's why, you can eat them and then have like a lot of bloating, but you don't necessarily have the indication that it's like from the eggs. Like I used to eat eggs every single morning, but that night around 6 or 7 at night, it seemed like that's when the bloating really kicked in and the pain. So your body's, all of that, those hormones are causing all those reactions from the pathogens feeding on it. And the pathogens release a neurotoxin that is secreted out into your body. And this really affects your central nervous system and all of your nerve endings that go all over your whole body. We're like a tree. And that is where you get the nerve pain, the joint pain, the sensitivity to the air and sensitivity to everything. It's a lot of it is the neurotoxins that the pathogens release. So it's literally like their poop. It's very poisonous to our system. So when we eat the eggs and the pathogens eat the eggs, then they go to the bathroom, and that process right there of their waste and elimination is what is triggering the majority of our inflammation and symptoms. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you find that that's true even for like pasture raised chickens, or do you find that that's just applying to like boiler chickens from factory farms?
Yeah, obviously the reaction is worse from conventional chicken eggs because they are the chickens themselves are fed such horrible things, and they're pumped full of more hormones, growth hormones and antibiotics, but it is all eggs in general.
And do you think do all of your clients have a similar egg sensitivity? Do you think that like some people are just more susceptible than others?
It definitely depends on the pathogen load, but and in my program, if you're interested in figuring out what your pathogen load is, I offer the GI map test as an add-on to my clients. It's not something that I currently put into my program because the test itself is $500.
Okay.
So, and yes, that's what I paid for it as well. And so having those results come in and having you see what's going on in your body and what pathogens you're harboring is such a huge eye-opener. And like I said, a lot of people nowadays have more so than the older generations. So I've thought about that. Like, why did our grandparents, why could they eat gluten? Why could they eat eggs? And why do they seem fine? But all of us younger generations, we're all getting sick. We're all getting diagnosed with chronic conditions and autoimmune. And that's what it really boils down to, is we have higher pathogen loads in our bodies nowadays. And so we definitely need to avoid the trigger foods that are going to feed the pathogens that are going to cause our symptoms. It's that snowball effect, right?
Makes me wonder how related it is to antibiotic resistance and just the disproportionate pathogen load that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Granted, I say this as a biology teacher, so my mind is like, that's a really interesting question. I wonder this now.
Right. Your researcher mind is going to go down this path. And like we talked about before, I'm the same way. So when I started learning about this, I was like, what? Because I loved my eggs, and I was like, no, like everyone else, like, don't take away my eggs, but yeah, when you really start, I think for me, it was one thing to just learn this information and have those, whoa, really moments. But then once I started getting my results back and then correlating the two together, I was like, okay, this makes so much sense, and then diving into the history of how, viruses or pathogens have been raised in labs. I mean, it's still literally currently how they build the flu shot every year. They inject pathogens or that strain, or actually they usually inject 3 strains of a virus into an egg. And then as you saw, it'll multiply and just grow and grow and grow. And so that's why a lot of us that's why it's the multiplication too, is why it's also super important to avoid eating eggs, because when you give them their favorite food, then they can multiply and grow just like they would in a petri dish. And so not only are they multiplying and growing and becoming stronger, then that they travel through your body, your glands and your organs, and they attach and grow and burrow into your body and then grow and multiply and expand, which creates conditions, illnesses, and symptoms. And then, so imagine if you have all these pathogens inside of you and they're living on this food, and then they're going to the bathroom and they're excreting toxic waste into your system. That's then traveling through your bloodstream and attaching itself to your nerve endings. I mean, pain. That's just sounds like pain, and it is. And that's so there are definitely ways to counter all of this, and there's ways to get all of this out of your body. And that is what I teach in my program. And that's what I have done for myself. And, but yeah, this test it's a phenomenal tool to really figuring out your literally root causes. If there was one that you wanted to start with, like say you could call your doctor when you got off the Zoom and say, hey, I'm interested in pulling my full EBV panel. EBV, Epstein-Barr virus, is a huge issue that's not being brought to light. And I was, my antibodies were off the charts for it. My clients' antibodies are off the charts for it. It's an underlying thread I see in us women that have thyroid conditions. It's something that we have to
positive for EBV like 2 years ago when I saw a naturopath.
Oh, you were positive? You had high antibodies? Okay, so see, this is normal. I get messages all the time from women that say the same thing. I have high antibodies. I was told I have, okay, well, there you go. That is a virus right there that you're battling. That is virus pathogen, same term, right? So when you eat eggs, just right there, because we know you have EBV, you're feeding your EBV. Your EBV will then multiply, grow, poo, and cause you symptoms. So that's my spiel.